Cluster topic for today is non-current asset. Cluster topic for today is non-current asset held for sale and discontinued operations. Let's start with non-current asset held for sale or NCAHFS. Both of these topics are under PFRS 5. And according to PFRS 5, a non-current asset is considered as held for sale if its carrying amount can be recovered through a sale transaction rather than through continued use. Okay, so a non-current asset is considered as held for sale if mare-recover natin yung carrying amount pag binenta natin yung asset instead of using the asset. Okay, let's have an illustration. For example, tayo sa ABC Corp, and ang business natin is nagbebenta tayo ng calculators, and we have a factory building. Dito tayo nagmamanufacture ng calculators. Okay? And let's say, sobrang tumaas yung demand for calculators. So, ang plan natin is to transfer to a bigger building. Ibebenta na natin yung old factory building natin. Because this is a building, consider siya as non-current asset. Because ibebenta na natin siya, consider siya as held for sale. That's why, this is an example of a non-current asset held for sale. Okay? Now, actually, meron tayong journal entry dyan. Journal entry is debit factory building, held for sale, credit factory building. Let's say, 10 million pesos. Actually, yung entry na yung class is a reclassification entry. Ni-reclassify natin yung factory building into factory building held for sale. Okay? And because this is already held for sale, this building is no longer subject to depreciation. So, lagay ko, not subject to depreciation. Alright? Now, sir, paano ba natin mini-measure yung non-current asset held for sale or in our illustration, yung factory building held for sale? For example, October 1, 2025, dyan natin ni-reclassify as held for sale. Yung measurement natin is carrying amount versus the recoverable amount, whichever is lower. And the difference between the two, carrying amount and recoverable amount, i-charge natin to impairment loss. Right? Sir, parang familiar yung recoverable amount. Yes, naaaralan natin yan under impairment. To recall, the formula for recoverable amount is fair value less cost to sell, also called fair value less cost of disposal, pero ang gagamitin natin na term all throughout is fair value less cost to sell, or value in use, whichever is higher. Okay? So, yun yung naaral natin under impairment. Kaya lang, class, yung concept of value in use, hindi yan applicable sa non-current asset held for sale. Kasi ibebenta na natin. Ano ba yung value in use? Well, yan yung amount na i-expect natin na mare-recover natin by continuing to use the asset. Since ibebenta na natin siya, the recoverable amount of a non-current asset held for sale is automatically equal to the fair value less cost to sell. Okay, ulitin ko, hindi applicable yung value in use concept for non-current asset held for sale. Now, every December 31, okay, until mabenta siya, i-compare natin kung tumaas or bumaba yung recoverable amount. Pag bumaba, impairment loss. Pag tumaas, meron tayong gain on reversal. Okay, so later, i-apply natin yan sa handouts natin. Now, a non-current asset held for sale, pwede mo siyang applicable siya to individual asset. Okay, for example, PPE. Okay, yung example natin yung building. Right? Ano pa? Investment property, investment associate, intangible asset, and so on and so forth. Applicable din yan sa group of assets. Actually, ang term na ginagamit natin for group of assets is disposal group. So later, magsasagot tayo ng exercises, what if individual asset, what if group of assets, okay? Now, an asset, hindi mo siya pwedeng basta-basta i-classify as held for sale at your discretion, alright? Dapat ma-meet niya yung criteria sa PFRS 5. Actually, meron tayong 2 criteria. So, sulat mo muna. Again, dapat ma-meet to bago maging held for sale ang isang asset. Number 1, the asset must be available for immediate use. Okay, available, immediate sale. Okay, the asset must be available for immediate sale in its present condition. So walang restriction. So for example, class, yung old building natin, let's say naka-mortgage pala sa bank yan, naka-collateral. So, hindi natin basta-basta pwedeng ibenta yan. Alright? So again, bago siya maging held for sale, dapat available for immediate sale. Walang restrictions. And number 2, I think this is more important. The sale must be highly probable. Highly probable daw na mabebenta yung asset. Okay? Now, highly probable, dapat, para masabi natin na highly probable, dapat meron siyang 5 na elements na present. Enumerate ko muna, sulat mo muna, later i-explain ko siya. Number 1, the management is committed on selling. Number 2, the management is locating a buyer. Number 3, the sale is expected to be complete within 1 year. Number 4, the price is reasonable. And number 5, the management is unlikely to withdraw the plan to sell. Okay? So, ano ba yung sinulat mo na yan? So again, bago natin i-classify as held for sale ang isang asset, dapat ma-meet niya muna yung criteria na yan. Available for immediate sale. And second, the sale must be highly probable. Para maging highly probable siya, dapat present yung 5 na yan. Okay? Isa-isa natin. Management is committed. So talagang gusto ni management na ibenta yung asset. Naghahanap na ng buyer. Okay? Sale is expected to be complete within 1 year. Okay, 1 year yan. Kaya class actually, yung factory building held for sale na yan. Kasi 1 year, di ba? i-consider mo na yan or i-report mo na siya as current asset. Hindi na siya non-current asset. Presentation mo na dyan is current asset. Okay? Pero may exception dyan. Kapag beyond entity's control, okay, pwedeng beyond 1 year. Okay? If the circumstances are beyond entity's control, for example, meron ng buyer. Sabi ni buyer, hingi ako ng extension ng payment. Tapos yung hinihingi extension is more than 1 year. Okay lang yun. Considered pa rin as held for sale yun. As long as beyond the entity's control yung reason. Alright? But in general, the sale must be complete within 1 year. Okay? Must be completed within 1 year. Number 4, price is reasonable. Masasabi natin na reasonable yung price if the price is at least equal to the fair value of the asset. And number 5, unlikely to withdraw. Parang letter A lang, committed dapat si management na ibenta yung asset. Okay? So dapat ma-meet lahat ng criteria na yan before we can classify the asset as held for sale. Alright, so yun muna. Let's apply the concepts by answering our illustrative example. Illustrative example, number 1. This is about individual asset. Pwedeng individual asset, pwedeng group of assets. Later, group of assets tayo. Okay, requirement is prepare all the journal entries from 2025 to 2027. On December 31, 2025, Pinnacle Company classified its building with historical cost of 1 million and accumulated depreciation of 600,000. Tama ba, class? If yung historical cost is 1 million, accumulated depreciation is 600, yung carrying amount is 400,000. So, dito, carrying amount, 400,000. And all of the criteria under PFRS 5 are complied with. Ano yung mga criteria natin? Yun, enumerate ko kanina. So, na-comply daw siya, therefore, pwedeng i-classify as held for sale. On that date, the land has a fair value of 350,000 and cost to sell of 20,000. Fair value less cost to sell. So, lagyan natin dito, fair value less cost to sell, amounting to 350 minus 20, that's 338,000. Ano nga ba, class, yung concept or yung rule natin, piliin mo whichever is lower. Lower kasi gusto natin conservative tayo. So, pipiliin natin dyan is 330,000. Fair value is cost to sell. And the difference between the two, i-charge natin to impairment loss, 70,000. Okay, journalize natin. December 31, 2025, i-reclassify natin, debit building, held for sale, okay, whichever is lower, tama, 330,000. And then, i-recognize natin yung building natin kasi may reclassification. Credit building, tama ba, yung cost niyan nakalagay 1 million. And debit accumulated depreciation, according to the problem, it's 600,000. Difference between the two, okay, impairment loss, 70,000. So ito yung entry natin. Nag-recognize tayo ng impairment loss and reclassify natin to building held for sale. Got it? Sige, so second paragraph, the building was not sold in 2026. However, the exception to the 1-year requirement was met. On December 31, the fair value cost to sell of the building is 310,000. So again, ang rule natin class, in general, dapat mabenta yan within 1 year. Pero may exception. Ano yung exception natin? If beyond entity's control, yung reason kung bakit di natin nabenta. So ang gagawin lang natin dyan, December 31, 2026, update lang natin. Tama? From 330, how much na daw yung fair value cost to sell ngayon? Nakalagay dyan, it's 310,000. Tama ba, class? 330 naging 310. So that's a decrease of 20,000. Debit impairment loss. Credit building held for sale. How much na yan? 20,000. Right? Recognize na tayo ng impairment loss hanggang mabenta natin siya. Right? And take note, hindi na tayo nagde-depreciate. No longer subject to depreciation. And yung presentation ito, in the balance sheet, present mo siya as current asset. Right? And then let's go to December 31, 2027. Okay, the building was not sold in 2027. However, the exception to the 1-year requirement was still met. Okay? The fair value cost to sell increased to 420. Okay, so yung fair value cost to sell, this time 420,000. Tama ba, class? From 310, naging 420. So tumaas tayo ng 110,000. Right? Pero if you remember sa discussion natin ng impairment, merong limit yung gain on reversal natin. Ano yung limit nun? Kung how much yung impairment loss na nirecognize natin previously. How much na ba nirecognize natin? May impairment loss tayo 70, additional 20, so that's 90,000. Okay? So ibig sabihin, pili ka lang. Kung ano mo sa baba dyan, right? Ang limit mo 90,000. So hindi mo pwedeng i-recognize yung 110 as gain on reversal. Ang pwede mo lang i-recognize is up to 90,000. So entry natin, debit building, held for sale, credit gain on reversal, 90,000. So, ulitin ko, yung limit ng gain natin, okay, yung reversal, limit niya is the amount of impairment loss na na-recognize natin previously. Alright? Now, let's say class hindi na-meet yung requirement, yung exception requirement sa 1 year. Okay, babalik mo sa dati. Reclassify ka ulit. Okay, balik mo yan sa building. Ganun na gagawin mo. Okay? Sige, so that's how you do. Illustrative example number 1. Pakita ko naman sa inyo class kung paano yung ginagawa. What if ang held for sale natin is group of assets or also called disposal group. Okay, let's go to illustrative example number 2. Requirement is compute for the impairment loss and prepare the journal entry. Let's see the given. On December 31, Mr. Accounting Company plans to dispose of a group of its assets. And information on these assets shown below. So meron tayong carrying amount before classification. So basically, yun yung nasa balance sheet. Okay? And then may fair value, yung second column, as remeasured immediately before the classification as held for sale. Sige, so tingnan natin. Isa-isay natin, class. Meron tayong inventory. Tama ba, class? From 2.4 million naging 2.2. So bumaba siya ng 200,000. Okay, impairment loss yan, obviously. Meron tayong FVOCI. Okay, from 1.8 naging 1.5, bababa siya ng 300,000. We have investment property from 5.7, naging 5.7, walang difference. And then PPE natin, from 4.6 naging 4 million, 600,000 yan. Yung goodwill, so later, 1.5 million yan, 1.5 billion pa rin, okay? Pero syempre, alam natin, kapag nag-i-impair ka, goodwill, kailangan mo i-write off yan. So later, pakita ko sa inyo. Now, kapag disposal group or group of assets, i-impair mo muna individual assets. Individual muna and then group. Okay, sir, paano yan? O, pakita ko sa inyo. So, basahin mo natin yung next paragraph. After each of the individual assets have been measured in accordance with the PFRS, applicable to each individual asset, Mr. Accounting estimates that the fair value cost of sale of the disposal group amounts to 13 million. Okay, the inventory is measured at LCNRV and FVOCI at fair value. So, pakita ko sa inyo, class. December 31, 2025, yung individual muna i-impair natin, which is yung na-compute natin previously. Debit impairment loss, how much yung total yan? 200 plus 300, that's 500, plus 600, that's 1.1 million. Debit impairment loss, 1.1 million. Credit natin yung inventory, 200,000. Okay, credit FVOCI, 300,000. And then credit PPE, 600,000. Alright, so yun yung una natin gagawin. And then after natin i-impair yung individual assets, i-impair natin siya as a group. Alright? So tingin ka dun sa second column. Nakita mo ba, class, yung total niyan is 14.9 million? Nakita mo yan? So 14.9 million, yun yung fair value. Okay? So basically, yun yung fair value cost of sale ng individual. And then meron ding fair value cost of sale na group. Nakita mo ba yung sa baba? 13 million? Nakita mo yan? 13 million. Therefore, difference sila as a group, may further impairment loss pa tayo na 1.9 million. Ganun siya. Individual muna. And then next is group. Alright? So now, yung 1.9 million na yung, class, to recall, kapag may goodwill, charge mo muna sa goodwill yan, 100%. Alright? How much yung sa goodwill? 1.5 million. Wala ka ng goodwill kasi ibibenta mo na lahat. And then, next is, other non-current assets, i-allocate natin yung 400,000. Bakit 400,000? Total is 1.9. Allocated to goodwill, 1.5. Therefore, 400,000 yung other non-current assets. Sir, ano ibig sabihin ng other non-current assets? Actually, ang pasok lang dyan, class, is the investment property and the PPE. Okay? Gagawin ko dyan, gamitin ko yung carrying amount niya, and then allocate ko yung impairment loss na 400,000. How much yung carrying amount of the investment property? Nakita mo yung 5.7 million. Right? And then yung carrying amount of PPE, nakita mo yung 4 million. So, ganun siya. So, 5.7 plus 4 million, that is 9.7 million. Yan yung basis natin for allocation. Sir, bakit hindi mo sinama yung inventory and FVOCI? Kasi apat yung assets yan, excluding goodwill, tama? Inventory, FVOCI, investment property, and PPE. Sir, bakit yung allocation mo, hindi mo na kinonsider yung inventory at FVOCI? Ang kinonsider mo lang, investment property and PPE because of the last sentence. Nakalagay, the inventory is measured at LCNRV and the FVOCI at fair value. So, ibig sabihin, class, after no entry natin na yan, yung inventory mo, naka-LCNRV na, yung FVOCI mo, naka-fair value na. Huwag mo nang galawin yan. Alright? So, ang implication yan, investment property and PPE na lang yung magiging allocation ng 400,000. Dapat explicit sa problem yun. Pag hindi sinabi yung last sentence na yan, yung apat na assets yung magiging basis mo for allocation. Alright? So, in our case, dalawa lang. Investment property and PPE. Total natin i-allocate is 400,000. Sige nga, 400,000 times 5.7 divided by 9.7. Nakuha ko dito, class, 235,052. 235,052. Minus 400,000, 164,948. Okay, so ibig sabihin, meron pa tayong isang entry. Okay, na-impair natin yung individual assets, impair natin yung group. Debit impairment loss, 1.9 million. Alright, i-write off natin yung goodwill, 100%, 1.5 million. Wala nang goodwill kasi bibenta mo na lahat. Credit investment property, 235,052. And credit PPE, 164,948. Okay? So these are your entries for illustrative example number 2. Pag group of assets, impair mo muna individually. Next is impair mo siya as a group. Alright? And last illustrative example, number 3. What if classify natin yung asset as held for sale? And then hindi natin mabenta-benta. Okay? And then nag-decide tayo, sige, ibalik na natin siya dun sa original classification niya. Okay? So parang yung illustration natin dito. Ginawa natin yung factory building natin, ginawa natin held for sale, and hindi natin mabenta. Ibabalik natin siya ulit sa factory building. Ang tawag doon, changes to a plan of sale. Sir, paano gagawin natin dyan? So, ganito yung rule dyan, class. Susulat ko muna yung rule. Okay? Kapag meron tayong, sa susulat, dito lang. If there is a change in classification, okay? Ganito yung magiging rule natin. Right? Compute natin yung carrying amount before reclassification, adjusted for depreciation. Kasi nga, hindi naman tayo nag-depreciate. Diba? Kailangan mag-recompute tayo. What if dinipreciate natin siya? And the recoverable amount, whichever is lower. Okay? Now, ano ibig sabihin, sir, ng carrying amount before reclassification adjusted for depreciation? As if no reclassification happened. Okay? So, it's as if, ano daw yung carrying amount of the asset, as if hindi natin na-reclassify to held for sale. Alright? Pero dito ka mag-iingat, class. Yung recoverable amount mo dito is equal to fair value less cost to sell or value in use, whichever is higher. Okay? Sir, akala ko ba hindi applicable yung value in use sa concept ng non-current asset held for sale? Yes, pag ibebenta mo. Ibabalik mo sa dating classification niya. Tama? So pag applicable na ulit yung value in use kasi gagamitin mo na ulit siya. Alright? Ulitin ko. In general, kapag held for sale, hindi applicable yung concept ng value in use. Pero pag binalik mo siya sa dating classification, applicable na ulit yan. Alright? Whichever is higher to ha. Bakit ulit whichever is higher? Kasi pipiliin na management kung ano yung mas magbe-benefit or more favorable para dun sa company. Pipiliin niya kung ano yung mas mataas sa dalawa na yan. Pag napili niya na yan, i-compare mo yan, whichever is lower. Bakit whichever is lower? Kasi conservative dapat tayo sa measurement. Alright? So apply na natin para mas malinaw. Let's go to illustrative example number 3. Okay. Compute for the measurement of the building upon its end, and let's prepare the journal entry. On December 31, 2025, CPA company classified its building. Carrying amount of 400,000, fair value cost of sale of 330, impairment loss of 70. So lagyan natin ng entry. December 31, 2025, debit impairment loss, 70,000. Okay. Debit building held for sale, how much yung fair value cost of sale? 330,000. And then credit building, 400,000. Tama ba? Ito yung entry natin. Nireclassify natin and then nag-recognize ng impairment loss of 70,000. The building has a remaining life of 4 years and it was depreciated using the straight line method. Kaya lang, pag held for sale, hindi ka man nagde-depreciate. Alright? On December 31, 2026, the building was not yet sold and management decided not to sell the building. Meron change of plan. The fair value cost of sale is 310 while the value in use is 305. So, paano gagawin natin dyan? Kukumpute natin yung carrying amount before reclassification and the recoverable amount. Compute natin yung carrying amount. Ganito gagawin ko dyan, class. Tama ba? As of yung carrying amount natin, originally is 400,000. Tama lang? So, 400,000 and then mag-depreciate tayo ng 1 year kasi nga hindi naman tayo nag-depreciate since 2025. 2026 nagkaroon ng reclassification ng change of plan, 2026. Mag-depreciate tayo for 1 year. Tama? Ano ba yung useful life? 4 years. 400,000 divide by 4, meron tayong 100,000. Tama ba, class? Yung compute natin na carrying amount na 300,000, ito yung carrying amount as of December 31, 2026. Okay, so walang problema. Piliin natin, compute natin yung recoverable amount. Fair value cost of sale or value in use, whichever is higher. Nakalagay dyan, fair value cost of sale, 310. Value in use, 305, 310. Okay, kasi si management, pipiliin niya kung ano yung mas mataas. Yun yung gagawin niya, more favorable para sa company. Na-compute natin yung dalawa na yan, compute natin or piliin natin whichever is lower kasi dapat conservative tayo. Lower dito is 300,000. Alright, entry natin class, on December 31, 2026, ibabalik natin siya sa dating classification. Debit building, okay, napili natin, 300,000. Credit building held for sale, currently naka-measure siya at 330,000. Meron tayong debit loss on reclassification, balancing figure siya, 30,000. Okay, so good. That's how you do kapag merong change of plan to sell. Sige, now, jump tayo class dun sa main problem number 2. Main problem number 2, madali lang yung main problem number 2. Okay, so how much should be recognized as gain on impairment recovery on December 31? On April 1, Shallow Company has a machine with a cost of 1 million and accumulated depreciation of 750. Tama ba class? 1 million minus 750, 250,000. So carrying amount, 250,000. Okay, on April 1, he classified the machine as held for sale and decided to sell the machine within 1 year. As of April 1, the machine had an estimated selling price of 100,000 and remaining useful life of 2 years. It is estimated that selling cost associated with disposal of the machine will be 10,000 or selling price or fair value less cost to sell na 10, so 100 minus 10, fair value less cost to sell nating class is 90,000. Tama? So ibig sabihin, on April 1, 2021, meron tayong impairment loss na 250 minus 90, 160,000. Yan yung impairment loss natin. Kaya lang, hindi man yun yung question. Alright? Ang tanong is gain on recovery. On December 31, the estimated selling price had increased to 150 and estimated selling cost of 20. So 150 minus fair value less cost to sell, 150 minus 20, that's 130,000. Tama ba class? From 90, nag-increase na 130, therefore tumaas siya ng 40,000. Yan yung gain natin. Okay? And di ba sir, may limit yung gain? Yes, ang limit ng gain, yung previously na-recognize natin na loss. Hindi naman umabot dyan eh. Tama? So pwede tayo mag-recognize ang gain on recovery, 40,000. Answer natin for number 2, dog, 40,000. Okay? So yan, yun na siya. Let's answer the related theory questions. Okay, theory number 1. Under PFRS 5, how should assets and liabilities of a disposal group classified as held for sale be reported in the statement of financial position? So sabi ko kanina class, yung held for sale na yan, current asset na yan. Okay? For example, group of assets, lahat yan, current assets, yung associated liabilities yan, current liabilities. Ipe-present mo sila separately sa ibang assets. Punta ka sa DOG. The assets of a disposal group should be reported separately from other assets and the liabilities of the disposal group should be reported separately from other liabilities. Basta separate presentation sila. Lahat classified as current asset and current liability. Jump tayo sa number 4. An entity acquires a subsidiary exclusively with a view to selling it. The subsidiary meets the criteria to be classified as held for sale. At the balance sheet date, the subsidiary has not yet been sold and 6 months have passed since its acquisition. How will the subsidiary be valued in the balance sheet at the date of the first financial statements after acquisition? Well, natin pag held for sale, carrying amount, carrying amount or recoverable amount, whichever is lower. So, punta ka sa boy at the lower of its cost and fair value less cost to sell. Boy for number 4. Number 5, it's a group of assets to be disposed of by sale or otherwise together as a group in a single transaction and liabilities directly associated with those assets. Well, tawag natin dyan, disposal group. Alright? So for number 5, letter C yung sagot natin. Kapag group of assets yung i-dispose natin, yan, disposal group yung tawag dyan. Number 6, the key characteristic for the classification of an asset as held for sale is that the carrying amount of the asset must be recovered through a sale transaction. Principally be recovered through a sale transaction. Let's go to number 7. Okay, but while an asset is held for sale, PFRS 5 prohibits. So again, kapag held for sale yan, huwag mo i-depreciate. Alright? So for number 7, A tayo dyan. The asset from being depreciated. Number 8, which of the following statements about non-current asset held for sale is false? Isa-isayin natin. A, an asset held for sale shall not be depreciated. True yan. B, assets classified as held for sale are carried at lower of carrying amount or fair value cost of sale. True din yan. C, an asset classified as held for sale must be available for immediate sale. Ito. In its present condition and the sale must be highly probable. Alright? Tama din yan. Dog, an entity shall classify as non-current asset as held for sale if its carrying amount will be recovered principally through a sale rather than, hindi or, rather than. So, hindi natin siya gagamitin. Bibenta natin siya. So, dapat dyan, principally through a sale rather than through continuing use. That's why mali yung 8. Dog yan. Number 9, if the fair value cost of sale is lower than the carrying amount, the difference is, alam natin, impairment loss yan. Alright? So, for number 9, boy yung sagot natin. Let's go to number 10. An entity has an asset that was classified as held for sale. However, the criteria for it to remain as held for sale no longer apply. What is the treatment of the asset? Parang ito. Yung discuss natin earlier. Punta ka sa dog. Measure the non-current asset at the lower of its carrying amount before the asset was classified as held for sale, adjusted for depreciation, okay, and its recoverable amount at the date of decision not to sell. Siyempre, yung lower between the two. Alright? So that's why for number 10, kapag may change of plans, dog yung i-apply natin. Alright? So that's for non-current asset held for sale. Let's continue our discussion. Let's now go to discontinued operations. Again, this topic is still under PFRS 5. Discontinued operations refer to a component or segment of an entity which represents a major line of business or geographical area or a subsidiary which either has been disposed of or is classified as held for sale. Okay, yun yung definition of discontinued operations. Again, discontinued operations refer to a component or segment, parang sa operating segment, ang discussion natin, which represents a major line of business. Parang example natin sa operating segment, si Nestle, meron siyang 2,000 plus products globally. Ayun, major line of business. Or geographical area, sa example natin, sa operating segment, si Jollibee, meron siyang 1,000 plus stores. Or a subsidiary, which either has been disposed of or is classified as held for sale. Actually, related yung concepts ng discontinued operations and non-current asset held for sale, kaya pareho sila under PFRS 5. So, ano yung major difference ng dalawa na yan? Ang major difference is, for discontinued operations, i-terminate or i-discontinue natin yung operations of a segment. Okay? Unlike dito sa non-current asset held for sale, magbebenta tayo ng individual asset or group of assets, pero tuloy-tuloy pa rin yung operations. Discontinued operations, i-stop natin yung operations. Alright? Now, again, same concepts yung i-apply natin. We measure discontinued operations at carrying amount or recoverable amount, whichever is lower. The difference between the two, charge natin yan sa impairment loss. Okay? Let's have an illustration. For example, tayo si Ayala Corporation. Ayala Corp is one of the largest companies in the Philippines. Considered siya as a conglomerate. Pag sinabing conglomerate, meron siyang maraming businesses from different industries. Ano yung mga pinakasikat na alam natin? Well, meron siyang Ayala Land, which is the developer, property developer. We have Globe Telecom. We have BPI. And we have Manila Water. Okay? So, yun yung mga subsidiaries of Ayala Corporation. Right? Now, let's say si Ayala Corp, nag-decide siya, sige, si Globe, ibebenta na lang natin siya kay PLDT. Okay? I-discontinue na ni Ayala Corp si Globe. Right? So, in that case, example yan ng discontinued operations. So, let's say nangyari yung discontinued operations on March 31, 2025. So, we have January 1, March 31, okay, classify natin as discontinued operations, and we have December 31. Now, ang important dito is, paano natin i-present yung discontinued operations in the financial statements? Mag-focus tayo on two things. Statement of comprehensive income and statement of financial position. Doon tayo sa statement of comprehensive income. Okay, ito yung very important. In the statement of comprehensive income, yung financial performance of Globe, i-present mo siya as a single amount. Isang amount lang. Okay, single amount, which includes the post-tax profit or loss, post-tax, ibig sabihin after tax, alright? Plus minus, post-tax, gain or loss on measurement. Paano nga ba ulit natin mini-measure? At fair value less cost of sale, tama? Now, ang important dito, class, is i-present natin is for the whole year. Okay, very important. Ano ibig sabihin ng for the whole year? From January 1 to December 31. Kung maalala nyo, dito tayo nag-classify ng discontinued operations March 31, tama? Ang presentation, okay, as a single amount. from January 1 to December 31. Hindi from March 31 to December 31. Whole year yan. Diyan marami nagkakamali. Dapat buong taon yung presentation natin. Take note, single amount. Sir, ibig sabihin ng single amount na yan. Imagine mo, ito class yung Statement of Comprehensive Income ni Ayala Corporation. Meron tayong revenues minus expenses. You have income before tax minus income tax expense. Income from continuing operations. Sino yung nagko-continue mag-operate? Ayala Land, BPI, and Manila Water. So, ibig sabihin, from this up to this, yan yung operations ni Ayala Land, okay, ni BPI, and ni Manila Water. Alright? Yung income from discontinued operations, yun yung single amount. Got it? So, yun yung para kay Globe. Yung income from discontinued operations, and you get the net income. Ito yung presentation. Alright? Ulitin ko, income from continuing operations plus income from discontinued operations, you get the net income. Okay? Ano nga ba klase yung kasama sa income from discontinued operations? Post-tax profit or loss. So, ibig sabihin, mga revenues minus expenses. After tax, dapat yan. And then, on gain or loss on measurement. Pag nag-measure tayo ng impairment loss, yung mga ganyan. Right? Sama-sama lahat yan. Isang amount, lagay mo sa income from discontinued operations. Punta naman tayo sa statement of financial position. I-report natin separately. Okay, separate natin lahat ng assets and liabilities ni Globe. Okay, ihiwalay natin siya from Ayala Land, BPI, and Manila Water. Okay, magkahiwalay siya. Now, yung assets, i-represent natin siya as current asset. Liabilities, i-represent natin as current liability. Parang kanina. Dito lang din sa non-current asset held for sale. Alright? And again, yung assets na yan, i-measure mo siya, carrying amount or recoverable amount, whichever is lower. Alright? So, ganyan lang. Pinaka-important dito ito. Yung single amount na presentation in the Statement of Comprehensive Income. Alright? So, apply natin yung concepts. Let's go to illustrative example number 4. Illustrative example number 4, tignan natin. Comparative reporting. Okay? 2 years yung papakita natin. Requirement is determine the single post-tax amounts that should be reported for discontinued operations. Alright? In BSA companies' comparative 2025 and 2026 income statements. Let's read the given. On December 31, BSA company entered into an agreement to sell a component. Okay? Component or segment. As a result of the sale, the component's operations and cash flows would be eliminated from the entity's operations and cash flows, and the entity will not have any significant continuing post-sale involvement in the component's operations. Accordingly, the component was classified as held for sale and discontinued operations. The component's actual operating losses in 2025 and 2026 were 700,000 and 650,000 respectively. The actual gain on disposal in 2026 was 400,000. BSA's income tax rate is 30%. Bakit mahalaga yung income tax rate? Kasi post-tax yan. Dapat after-tax lahat ng ipe-present natin. Alright? Any income tax benefit is expected to be realized. So, ganito gagawin dyan, class. Paano daw natin ipe-present siya sa 2025 and 2026 income statement? So, ganito siya. Tayo ko dito, 2025. Alright? And dito yung 2026. Okay? So, meron tayong operating loss dyan. Nakita mo ba sa second paragraph, the components' actual operating losses, 2025 and 2026, 700,000 and 650,000 respectively. Alright? And the actual gain on disposal, nabenta talaga natin siya, yung discontinued operations natin in 2026. Lagay ko dito, gain on disposal, 2026 amounting to 400,000. Okay, syempre, negative yung loss, yung gain natin, positive 400,000. Okay, so yung total loss natin for 2 years, 700,000 for 2025. For 2026, we have 250,000. Negative pareho yan. Now, natutunan natin sa accounting for income tax. Kapag negative yung loss mo, meron tayong income tax benefit. Or pag negative yung amount, meron tayong income tax benefit. So, tayo dito, tax benefit, which is, ano yung tax rate natin, class? 30%, right? So, 30% of 700,000 is 210,000. Positive yan. Alright? So, 30% of 250,000 is 75,000. Therefore, class, yung loss from discontinued operations natin will amount to, so 700,000 minus 210,000, you have 490,000, so negative kasi loss yan. And then for 2026, 250,000 minus 75, you have 175,000. Negative din siya. Alright? So actually, kasi yung sagot natin dito, ito yung sagot natin. Iyan yung single amount na ipe-present natin in the Statement of Comprehensive Income. Again, nalagay doon, post-tax profit or loss. Ito yun. Mga revenues and expenses mo, sa operating losses yan. Post-tax gain on loss or remeasurement. Ito example, yung gain on disposal natin. After tax dapat, kaya consider natin yung tax benefit. Alright? Kasi negative eh. Kaya may tax benefit tayo. Kapag positive yan, syempre, may income tax expense tayo. Right? So now, para mas ma-visualize natin, ganito class yung presentation in the Statement of Comprehensive Income. No? Meron tayong 2025 and 2026. Tama ba class? Nakalagay dyan? Second paragraph, income from continuing operations amounted to 1 million for 2025 and 2026. So, ang presentation yan, parang ito. Statement of Comprehensive Income, income from continuing operations, 1 million. Okay? Income from discontinued operations, for 2025, it's 490,000. For 2026, it's 175,000. Okay, and then you get the net income. Ayun, net income. 1 million minus 490, that's 510,000. 1 million minus 175, that's 825,000. Ganito class yung presentation in the Statement of Comprehensive Income. Tingnan nyo class, single amount lang siya. Ito siya. Alright? Single amount, yung presentation mo. Now, yung operating loss, yung gain na yan, yung tax benefit na yan, hindi mo ipapakita yan sa statement of comprehensive income. Saan mo makikita yan? Notes to financial statements. Ulitin ko, single amount lang yan sa statement of comprehensive income. Yung details yan, yung computation yan, notes to financial statements lang yan. Okay? So, ito yung answer natin sa illustrative example number 4. Last, illustrative example number 5. Sige. Okay, ganun pa rin. Compute for the profit or loss from discontinued operations to be reported in ABC Statement of Comprehensive Income for the year ended December 31, 2025. On April 30, ABC Company approved a plan to dispose of a component of its operations. The disposal meets the requirements for classification as discontinued operations. From January 1 to April 30, the component earned operating profit of 100,000, and from May 1 to December 31, the segment suffered operating losses, 50,000. Tama ba, class? Na-classify daw siya as discontinued operations noong April 30. Tama? Pero sabi ko kanina, yung reporting mo is for the whole year. Hindi mag-matter yung April 30. Ang mag-matter, January 1 to December 31. So, ang gagawin ko dyan, class, meron daw operating profit from January 1 to April 30, tama? How much yan? Nakalagay dyan, it's 100,000. And then, meron tayong operating loss from May 1 to December 31 amounting to 50,000. Ipe-present mo pa rin yan. Okay? Ipe-present mo siya as a single amount. Hindi mo ipe-present yung April to, o yung May 1 to December lang. Hindi. From January 1 up to December 31. Okay. Next, the net assets of the components sa carrying amount of 8 million. The fair value less cost to sell, 6.5 million. Tama ba, class? Again, same sila ng measurement. Carrying amount, recoverable amount, whichever is lower, difference is impairment loss. So that's why 8 million yung carrying amount, minus fair value less cost to sell, 6.5. Tama ba? May impairment loss tayo na 1.5 million. Sasama mo rin yan. Impairment loss, 1.5 million. Okay, next. Additional estimated disposal loss includes separation pay of 55,000 and employee relocation cost of 25,000. So yun yung expenses yan. So lagyan natin, separation pay, how much? That is 55,000. Siyempre, expense yan. So minus. We have relocation cost, expense din yan. Sa mga employees, so minus 25,000. Okay, so umpin natin, class. Kung may income or loss tayo, 100,000, minus 50,000, minus 1.5 million, minus 55,000, minus 25,000, you have 1,530,000. Tama, negative 1,530,000. Ito yung loss natin before tax. Now, since loss yan, meron tayong tax benefit. Alright? So what is the tax rate for this problem? 30%. 1,530 times 0.3, 459,000. Positive yan kasi benefit, 459,000. Therefore, yung loss from discontinued operations natin, compute natin, 1,530, plus 459,000, 1,071,000. Okay, ito yung ipe-present natin na single amount in the Statement of Comprehensive Income. So, pakita natin. Statement of Comprehensive Income, according to the third paragraph, income from continuing operations amounted to 2 million, okay, in 2025. So, income from continuing operations, how much? 2 million. And then, loss from discontinued operations, 1,071,000. Therefore, net income natin in the Statement of Comprehensive Income, 2 million minus 1,071,929,000. Okay? So, yun yung presentation natin in the Statement of Comprehensive Income. Alright? Sige. Okay, this is we're used to example number 5. Let's go to main problem number 1. Okay, main problem number 1. And yan, apply lang natin. This is multiple choice. We have 6 questions. Okay, so let's read the given. Questions muna. Question number 1, income from continuing operations. Question number 2, income from continuing operations in 2022. Number 3, net income 2021. Number 4, net income 2022. Let's read the given. Presented below are the condensed income statement for years ended December 31, 2022 and 2021. So meron tayong sales, cost of goods sold, and so on and so forth. And then may income tax rate tayo dyan, nakita mo yung 35%. Alright, and then we have net income. 2 years. Now, on October 10, 2022, it entered into an agreement to sell the assets of one of its geographical segments. The geographical segment comprises operations and cash flows that can be clearly distinguished operationally and for financial reporting purposes. The segment was sold on December 31, 1,750,000. The book value of the segment's assets, 1,550,000. The segment's contribution to its operating income before tax for each year are as follows. Okay? Nakalagay dyan, 2022, yung contribution doon ng segment, loss na 113,750. 2021, ang contribution is 81,250 income. Alright? So, kung gagawa tayo ng timeline, class, we have October 1, again dito, October 10, okay, 2022, dito naging discontinued operations. Alright? Pero nabenta siya December 31, alright, 2022. So, noong 2021, hindi pa siya discontinued operations. Okay? So, paano gagawin natin dyan? Actually, yung reporting natin, kahit dito siya naging discontinued operations, pag mag-represent ka ng comparative, okay, as if discontinued operations na rin siya sa 2021. Ganun siya. So, nakalagay sa question number 1, class, income from continuing operations in 2021. Paano natin siya kukumputin? Tama ba, class? Ang presentation natin, meron tayong income from continuing operations, okay, plus minus income from discontinued operations, and then we get the net income. Tama? Ganun yung presentation yan. Plus, how much yung net income natin in 2021? Nandun siya sa income statement na pinrovide sa atin. Nakita mo ba yung 617,500? Yes, 617,500. And then, nakalagay dyan sa last part, okay, the segment's contribution in 2021. Nakita mo ba yung 81,250. Nakita mo yun? Pero nakalagay dyan, before tax. 81,250. Okay? Before tax for each year nakalagay. So, gagawin ko dyan, class, yung income from discontinued operations, kailangan after tax yan, post-tax. So, ang computation ko, 81,250, multiply ko sa, yung tax rate natin is 35%. So, paano siya magiging after tax? Multiply ko sa 65%. Right? So, 81,250 times 0.65. Therefore, yung income from discontinued operations natin is 52,812.5. Right? So, ano ngayon yung income from continuing operations natin? Alam natin, pag in-add natin yan, dapat equal sa 617,500. 52,812.5 minus natin yung 617,500. Sagot natin class dyan is 564,687.5. Okay? Or letter C. For question number 1, letter C, income from continuing operations, 564,687.5. So, ang ginawa ko lang, net income given sa problem yan. Given din yung contribution ng segment. Okay, nakalagay 81,250. Pero nakalagay before tax. Kaya multiply ko siya dyan. Alam natin, pag in-add mo yan, you get net income. So, i-minus mo 617,500 minus 52,812.5. Income from continuing operations, 564,687.5. That's for question number 1. Question number 2. Sa 2022 na tayo. Okay? Pero for 2022, nagkaroon na ng bentahan. Tama? So, tingnan natin. Ganito pa rin. Income from continuing operations. Okay? And then, income or loss from discontinued operations. You get the net income. How much ulit class yung net income for 2022? Tingnan sa income statement, nakalagay dyan, 763,750. Alright? And then yung income from discontinued operations, nakalagay dyan, sa baba. Tingnan sa baba. The segment's contribution, 113,750 loss. Okay? So, gagawin ko dyan, loss tayo, tama? 113,750 na loss, negative natin. And then, tingin ka dun class sa last sentence, or second to the last sentence. Okay? Or, yes, the segment was sold for 1,750,000. Tama? The book value of the segment's assets was 1,550,000. Tama ba class? 1,750,000 minus 1,550,000, you have 200,000. Meron tayong gain on disposal. Tama? Mas malaki mo na benta eh. 1,750 mo na benta, book value lang is 1,550. Therefore, meron tayong gain. Okay? So, plus mo yan. Plus 200,000. Therefore, compute mo dito, 113,750 minus 200,000, you have 86,250 na positive. Pero dapat after tax, multiply mo siya sa 65% times 0.65, you have 56,062.5. Lagay mo siya dito, 56,062.5. Okay? So, ang total is 763,750 minus 763,750. Therefore, income from continuing operations natin is 707,687.5. Answer natin for question number 2, letter B. Okay? Tama ba? 707,687.5. Letter B. Boy for question number 2. Question number 3, how much daw yung net income natin in 2021? Actually, given sa problem yan, yun yung sagot mo, 617,500, letter C. Question number 4, net income in 2022, given din sa problem yan, 763,750, which is letter A. Okay? Question number 5. Question number 5. Assume that by December 31, 2022, the segment had not yet been sold but was considered as held for sale. The fair value of the segment's assets on December 31 was 1,750,000. The post-tax income loss from discontinued operations for 2022 should be, so ganito class yan. Tama ba yung carrying amount of our assets? 1,550,000. Tama? Yung fair value less cost to sell is 1,750,000. So in that case, mas mababa yung carrying amount natin. Wala kang impairment loss dyan. May impairment loss ka lang pag mas mababa yung fair value less cost to sell sa carrying amount. Okay? So wala tayong impairment loss dyan. Therefore, nandoon dyan, the post-tax income from discontinued operations for 2022, na-compute na natin earlier yan, is, eto, 56, saan na yan? Sorry, post-tax ng 2022, hindi pa daw natin nabebenta. Okay, so wala ka munang 200,000 na gain. Alright? Yun yung kasi sabi dyan. Basahin ulit natin question number 5. Assume that by December 31, the segment had not yet been sold. So wala kang gain pa na 200,000. Alright? And then, binigyan tayo ng fair value less cost to sell, pero na-determine natin, wala naman tayong impairment because mas mataas yung fair value less cost to sell than the carrying amount. Therefore, yung loss natin is 113,750. Kaya lang, that's before tax. Multiply natin by 65%. Okay, 113,750 times 0.65, you get 73,937.5 negative. Sagot natin for question number 5, it's letter A. And last one, question number 6. Okay, assume that by December 31, the segment had not yet been sold. Okay, the fair value of the segment's assets was 1,250. So, carrying amount natin, 1,550,000. Fair value less cost to sell is 1,250,000. Tama ba class? Meron tayong impairment loss dyan na 300,000. Right? May impairment loss tayo ng 300,000. May operating loss tayo ng 113,750. Add natin yan. So, yung total loss natin, 300,000 plus 113,750, 413,750. Ito yung total loss natin. Okay? After tax mo yan. Times 65% times 0.65. Sagot natin dito class, 268,937.5. Okay? Siyempre, negative yan kasi loss yan. Answer natin, letter D, 268,938. Alright? And that's for question number 6. Okay, so let's finish this by answering the remaining 2 theory questions. Theory number 2. How should the income from discontinued operations be presented in the income statement? Alam natin yan. Single amount na after tax. Sama-sama lahat yan. Revenues, expenses, gain or loss, impairment loss, lahat yan. At for the whole year, January 1 to December 31. Punta ka sa letter A. The entity should disclose a single amount on the face of the income statement with analysis in the section, notes or section of the income statement separate from continuing operations. Nakahiwalay yung income from continuing and income from discontinued operations. Alright? So, ganun siya. And last one, number 3, a discontinued operation is defined as a disposal of a separate or major line of business. And the resulting gain or loss on discontinued operations is reported as, punta ka sa DOG, separate item from income under continuing operations after tax. Again, una muna yung continuing operations, sa baba nun, discontinued operations. Pero dapat after tax lagi yan. Kaya sagot natin, separate item from income under continuing operations after tax. Okay? Okay, so that's the end of our discussion.